Well, there's a classic. 1966 Ford F100. All original, well, other than maybe the rims, but pretty much all original. Has a 352, I believe. I got to do a rear seal on the crankshaft, so that's our job for tomorrow. I'll bring you along with me. Take little video clips along the way, show you what's involved. I believe this one has originally a rope seal in it, or a packing, and it's going to be replaced with a two-piece neoprene insert type seal. Beautiful truck. So we got it up on the hoist. Let's have a look at what we're getting into here. So this one's got the sump in the front of the oil pan, and looks like we're going to have to lift up and support the engine. So we got some clearance here. We only got a couple of inches, inch and a half to drop the pan. It's got to come out the front. It won't go out the back. Got the steering linkage in the way. You can see the oil from the rear seal here. It's got a steering shock in the way. So I think this pan's going to come out the front. I might have to take the oil pump off the engine, drop the pan, and then reach in there and unbolt the oil pump. But we'll see. Definitely have to raise the engine. That means supporting the back of the truck and undoing the motor mounts. Raise it up about 3 inches. I think there's enough room on top of the bell housing. This is a standard, so there's a fair amount of room. Oh well. We'll figure it out as we go. So I raised the engine about 1.5 inches, supported it with 2 pieces of 2x2 there. Dropped the pan as far as it will go. Now I have to undo the oil pump right here and drop the oil pump into the oil pan, and then the assembly should. So there's the pan off with the oil pump sitting in it. I'm going to need a new gasket for the oil pump. And we're going to leave this thing sitting here for the night because it's going to drip forever. So I figured this is a good way to let it drip overnight. And we'll remove that rear main bearing cap in the morning and investigate what's going on with that back seal. So there's the rear main bearing cap off. Put a couple of small 5/16 bolts, 5/16 coarse bolts in the cap, and use a pinch bar like this one here to pry it out. There's seals along the side of the cap here that have to be replaced. There's the rope seal, as you can see in there, right in here. And of course, in the back, in the engine, there is a mating half up inside there as well that we have to get out. Hopefully that's going to pull out of there. It's in right in here. I'll try putting a sheet metal screw in it and pushing it out, and maybe rotating the crankshaft at the same time. Well, we have to clean all this up. I used a little air scraper because the cork gasket on the pan was like cement. It came off in little tiny pieces. Anyways, we still have to clean this all up before we put it together, but I'm going to get that seal out of there. So that's what the lower half of the rope seal looks like. And of course we're going to be replacing this with a neoprene version of this. Now to get the upper half out, what I've done is I've threaded in a deck screw on the left hand side of the seal, and I'm going to pull down with a pair of vice grips on that screw while I rotate the crankshaft, and hopefully the seal is going to turn out of there. We'll see what happens. So I got it out. This is what I did. I threaded a deck screw into the piece of seal and then pulled it and rotated the crankshaft at the same time in the same direction. As soon as the rope got free of the block, though, of course the screw pulled out, so I had to keep doing that. You can see that seal's, I pulled off probably about 1/2 inch of it. But nevertheless, it's out. Now we've just got to clean up everything and reinstall the new seal. So there's the replacement neoprene 2-piece seal. that replaces the rope seal. Now if you look at this thing, it doesn't have a garter spring, but the lip has to go towards the engine oil, just like that, facing towards the front of the vehicle, and it has to be rotated in while you turn the crankshaft. You don't want to peel any kind of rubber off the back of the seal when you're turning it in, otherwise it may leak. And of course the cap is easy, you just snap it into the cap. So we'll rotate the seal in there. I got the block all clean. So there's the seal installed in the cap with the lip facing the main bearing, of course. I'm going to put a little bit of lubricant on this bearing seal, and zero clearance sealant on the edge of the cap and the edge of the seal, so that when it's torqued back up in there, it squeezes it out and doesn't displace any dimension. Zero clearance. The seal is installed up in there now. Let's see if I can get up there and look. You can see it. Managed to rotate it in with a little oil on it. Okay. So we're going to put the cap back on. So there's the oil pan gasket glued back on the surface with contact cement. Put this oil pump drive rod up, make sure it's in the distributor, look at it with a borescope and hold it there with an elastic band, otherwise it's nearly impossible to get it lined up with the oil pump when we put the pan up with the oil pump in the bottom of it. But we're ready to go. We got the pan all cleaned up and painted over here. Genuine Ford blue. So we'll put it. So there it is, back together and running again. No major surprises. Everything seems to be fine. Thanks for watching.